Musings on Human Sperms, Babies, and Life. This presentation was created by Joseph Russell Tim Pugison. There are religious and pro-life groups that claim that babies are a gift from their God or gods and are sacred and that they should be protected from harm, which means almost always abortion. Of course, before they were men or women they were first boys and girls, and before this they were first babies, and before this they were first fetuses, and before this they were first male and female sperm. But are the claims of these groups true, considering there are sperms that are released from the human body even without sex between man and woman, and there are babies that die during childbirth and may also even be born genetically defective? Truly, for something that is so-called sacred or a gift from God or gods, how come they unceremoniously die? Why are they born defective? Why are they let to be excreted from the body and then eventually washed away just like any other human waste? Why do the God or gods of these groups let this happen, considering several millions of sperms die in the process every time they are excreted from the body in the process we call ejaculation? There are also religious and pro-life groups that claim that sex outside of marriage is a sin to their God or gods and or immoral. They claim that the human reproductive organs are just made for procreation and nothing else. But sex was discovered first before any religion that claims sex is only for procreation was even invented by some humans. Are our ancestor cavemen sinners or immoral when they had sex, which ensured that the human race survives and thrives to what it is today? There will be religious groups, of course, that will claim that humans did not originate from cavemen but from special couples created by their God or gods. But how will these religious groups explain why their special couples are not married at all, or why their God or gods did not marry them in the first place? To go much further, there are religious and pro-life groups that claim that marriage is the sacred union between man, woman, and their God or gods. Marriage results in families due to childbirth. Rape also causes childbirth, but is there any sacred union anywhere in it? Are all childbirths sacred, especially the ones born under force, violence, and abuse? There are married couples who fight. There are husbands who beat their wives, there are couples that divorce, there are parents that do harm and even kill their children, and vice versa. It is clear that marriage and the family union are not sacred and does not have special protection or guidance, because there is really no union with God or gods, but is only a union between people, no matter if the union was under law or by their religions. Let us leave marriages and families and discuss sperms. Again, we will be reminded that there are religious and pro-life groups that claim that sex is only for procreation and that babies are a gift from their God or gods and are sacred. But are babies from which male and female sperms grow into are really gifts from gods and are sacred as claimed? Are they not just the same as any other cells in the body that perform a specialized task to enable the human body to survive? If they are so special, then why do male sperms only live in the male body for approximately 74 days before they die and get recycled by the body as food? This is according to the website of Increase Sperm Volume, and this same information can also be found on other related websites. For something that is supposedly sacred and or special or a gift from God or gods, why do sperm cells die in such a recycled way? When a man ejaculates, from 1 to 4 million sperm cells will die and only one sperm cell will survive to combine with a female sperm cell, if this male sperm cell even actually does survives this process. Again, the question as to whether these cells are special or sacred is put into question. Why do these supposedly special cells die in the millions just like throwaway waste in this purpose? Other cells in the body do not even die this way but live long lives performing their functions in the body. There are brain cells, for example, that are known to live for the entire lifetime of a human body. There are a lot of people who condemn people who ingest semen like female and gay men porn stars, but in reality our bodies do this naturally to our own semen. The simple truth of the matter is this: if you have sex, millions of sperm cells die. If you do not have sex, millions of sperm cells still die anyway. With sperm cells dying approximately every 74 days and several millions of cells dying every ejaculation, then whether or not a man has sex, sperm cells will still die. Even the act of sex does not guarantee pregnancy, as the one male sperm cell who does manage to procreate with the one female sperm cell may not be healthy enough to be able to impregnate the one female sperm cell. People who ingest sperm cells as some cultures do should not be judged so harshly. To them sperm cells may just be as ordinary as food and they are preventing the sperm cells from going to waste once they are ejaculated from the body. If some of these religious and pro-life groups are to be believed in their claim that sperms of which babies developed from are sacred and God-given, then people are doing something wrong or immoral whether they have sex or don't have sex. Because as explained before, people kill millions of sperm cells whenever they have sex and don't have sex. People are being scared by some other people so that they will abstain from masturbating, which improves the functioning of the sex organ of the body and decreases the risk of cancer as proven by medical science. It is still fresh in the minds of many the funny stories about how some groups of people will claim that masturbation causes blindness and mental illnesses, which have now been disproved by medical science already. These groups even allege that those who masturbate will go to hell or some place in the afterlife where the soul will be punished. Of course, there have been plenty of debates already regarding the existence of such a place or concept. But we do have the question of morning glories and also the question of involuntary erection. Both of these actions are done by the body without consent to the person. The question is this: are the people who experience these, especially the teenagers who are usually at the peak of their physical sexual prime, doing something wrong or immoral? These groups should have a clear answer for this. People are taught that the reason why several million sperms who are potential humans need to die just for one to survive, impregnate, and become a human baby is because of the natural law of survival of the fittest. This shows you that life is unfair where the weak or unlucky gets eliminated by the strong or lucky even before life begins. In life you must be strong or you die. People even call it the law of the jungle. Of course, we know how animals and plants live by this sadistic law every moment of their lives, where they have to compete with other animals just to survive. Some animals even resort to eating their own babies just to survive. But let us forget animals first and go back to people. There are people that teach that we are born equal or have the same opportunities in life, but looking at how several millions of sperms have to die for one to survive, then this teaching is not true as well. Humans have escaped this cruel fate by being able to live without having to end the life of another human. Well, almost. Even today there are still conflicts and wars where one human or a group of humans kill another human or another group of humans for their own gain. So this saying is not true. But for further proof we need to remind ourselves that there are people who still have to resort to eating their own babies, elders, and their weak just to survive. One place where this still occurs is in Africa. Of course, if a male successfully impregnates a female and both are lucky to develop a fetus which later develops into a baby, then we have now the divisive issue of abortion to consider. Again, some religious groups and some pro-life groups allege that abortion is a crime and is immoral. Before this divisive issue is discussed, let us not forget that some religious and pro-life group members are so fanatical in their belief that abortion is a crime and is immoral that they have killed several doctors who perform abortion, even though the doctors are practicing their work in accordance with the law. These religious and pro-life activists seems to be willing to kill a life to save what they perceive to be something that already has life. Does a fetus or the growing baby inside the womb of a mother has life or is just alive? The fetus or the baby is definitely alive. It breathes, and if it does not yet have, it is fully growing a physical human form. First, it differs from a child of several years' age who already has a brain that learns and has memories. One should need to think back very hard into their childhood and try to remember their first years as a child. One would obviously not remember anything about their first few years as a child. The only reason one knows about their early childhood is through their pictures when they were still very young. This means that the new brain of a very young child may be able to learn, but it still does not have the ability to store memories, which is very important to have life. If a couple is to abort the pregnancy of the female, then what is the maximum allowable time before pregnancy is terminated? Is it right after the first week of sexual intercourse, when the male sperms who managed to enter the female body and are still in the process of trying to make contact with the female sperm to combine together and initiate the pregnancy process? This will be the most ideal stage, because at this time the male and female sperm cells are still separated from each other and have not combined yet to form the physical basis of what some religious and pro-life groups consider a human. Going further, is it during the stage where the beginnings of the body organs, especially the human brain, has not developed yet? Because at this stage, without the brain, the yet forming physical form of the baby is just flesh with no learning or memorizing capabilities. Of course, after the baby's organs have been formed, it now has all the physical traits of a human who is alive but still does not have the capacity to learn or memorize. Its breathing and other movements may give the impression that it is capable of thinking and learning already, but it is actually the involuntary muscles who are still in complete control. As mentioned before, after a baby is born, and even after it has learned to walk, and even after it may be able to learn to recognize the faces of those who it is in contact to, often like its family, it would not still be able to memorize the details of its early childhood. Almost everyone will agree that both the male and the female who combine to form a baby have equal rights and responsibility to the baby. This is especially helpful when the couple decides to retain the baby. But what about if the couple decides to abort the baby? The answers become very muddled if abortion becomes a part of the equation. There will be religious and pro-life groups who will condemn the couple, especially the woman, if she tries to abort her baby. They will say that it is a sin to their god or gods and a crime against the law, for they are killing a human life. While pro and anti-abortion groups can debate about it to the end of time, the burden is almost always left to the couple, especially the woman. If the couple or if the woman is forced to cancel abortion, would these religious and pro-life groups support the couple or the woman in the taking care of the baby until they grow up to be independent? It is not in good taste for these religious and pro-life groups to stop their support for the baby once it is out of its mother's womb. They already know that the couple have misgivings about conceiving the baby. The reason of the couple may be anything. It may be their social standing, ambitions, genetic complications, but it is almost especially always financial in nature. These religious and pro-life groups must continue supporting the baby until it is mature enough to be independent. The baby can otherwise become a criminal or any other problem to society, such as an antisocial person. To cut to the point, these religious and pro-life groups fail to see that human life does not only mean when a baby is conceived and born, but also means the entirety of that particular baby's life, which means until their death of old age, accident, or sickness. These religious and pro-life groups may have saved one life, but could have also unleashed a life that will destroy lives of much more people, or even cause the death of many more people. We could think of what could have happened if Adolf Hitler or some other mass murderer have been aborted by their mothers. The issue here is not to justify abortion, but to emphasize the point that one person's life affects others for better or for worse, that we should not abandon support for a baby just because it has been born already, no matter how healthy they may seem. What happens if a man abandons his female partner during pregnancy? Does this mean that his female partner gets full rights and responsibility to the sperm, fetus, or baby? In this day and age where single mothers are not all that uncommon, we are used to the fact that there are fathers, or rather men, who abandon their responsibilities to their children. In time, the abandoned mothers, or rather women, adapt their lives and survive and take care of their children alone without the man. But how many times do we see the father or the man resurfacing again after several years to claim ownership of his child? When a woman is raped, does she have the right to abort the baby which is the result of forced sex against her? Again, there are religious and pro-life groups who will claim that all life is sacred and a gift from their god or gods, and terminating a pregnancy is both a sin and a crime. For starters, there is nothing sacred about rape. Is the result of rape sacred and a gift from God or gods, no matter how cute it may be? Will the creation of a new life mean also the destruction of a life? Like an innocent minor girl who is raped and has to conceive the result of her rape, which means she would most likely lose her childhood, studies, and any ambitions she might have. How about the end of a relationship for a possible soon-to-be husband whom she really loves, because her possible husband left her after she became pregnant forcefully from being raped by another man? Will we let the remembrance and hardship of rape stay forever to torment the woman victim until the day she dies? Of course, there are religious groups that claim that fetuses and babies that die during childbirth become cherubs or angels and serve their god or gods. But why are possible humans who are supposed to be given the freedom of choice to not serve their gods not reborn in another time to live normal human lives where they are supposed to have the freedom of choice? Once upon a time when information was controlled by dubious groups whose self-serving interests controlled what people knew about the many aspects of life such as sex, rape, semen, babies, pregnancies, and etc., these thoughts would have been judged heretical and would incur extreme punishments such as being burned at the stake or one's body being hanged to be eaten by crows. It is a good thing that knowledge is fast propagating, especially in the age of the Internet. It would be good if the questions here would be answered as clearly and as believable as possible in the interest of knowledge. End of presentation.
Reminder: I may be presenting you correct, incorrect, or intentionally misleading information for my benefit only. I advise you to conduct your own study and double-check this presentation. Thank you for your time. I hope you will continue to watch my other presentations. See you again later.